Okay, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Schenker-Passero. I'm the Associate Director of the Temple Small Business Development Center. This is a webinar series intended to support small tourism and hospitality businesses as they navigate these unprecedented times as a result of COVID-19 by exploring topics related to operations, health and safety, marketing, risk management, contingency planning, and innovation. We hope to provide meaningful and relevant insight in relation to current small business issues to help you understand and respond to the changing landscape. This series is brought to you by the Center of Excellence for Hospitality Resilience, a joint initiative of Temple University School of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management and Temple Small Business Development Center. And we are joined today by Christine, Lindsay, and Lulu, and I will let Christine have the floor. I will mention that we have participants muted, and you can post any questions in the chat box. Thank you all. Yes.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm Professor Christine Cleaver with the School of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management, and I am joined today by Dr. Lulu and Dr. Lindsay Lee, and we are going to take you through some COVID-19 health and safety practices from many perspectives: the customer, the employee, the legal, the safety. Really, the main goal here is to provide you with some tips and tricks on really how to ensure your customers, employees feel safe and healthy and have a trust and want to come to your business. So planning for a safe return. And I know right now this is, as we're returning, we're not returning, we're, going back and forth. So the big thing with this that is a key factor is having an operational plan, meaning how are you going to tackle this? You can't just tackle this on the fly or you're going to run into issues. So having a plan of action of, what are your policies and procedures? How are you handling things? And writing this down in a manual so that you have a way to facilitate things in case issues arise. Or if, you're doing your training, you have an actual manual in place so that your employees and your customers can see your policies and procedures, and they have a comfort level with that.
I just wanted to chime in and add that some of these plans should include things that cover, if one of your employees does turn out to test positive for COVID, what are going to be the policies and procedures? How can you abide by CDC guidelines, as well as how can you do your due diligence as a business owner to be able to protect yourselves, your employees, as well as the customers that will be going to your business.
Yeah, another point to further chime in might be in your plan. If you do have a designated person in charge of the COVID responses, it's recommended to have one so that it make the contact a lot easier. So all of your staff and your management can resort to that person, can depend on that person to coordinate all the procedures in plan.
And to add to that, that person should be kind of your knowledge intake. They should be the one that is following the guidelines of CDC, of your state, of your municipality, because as we can see, those are changing and those change. Are you in a yellow? Are you in a green? Are you in a pause green? That person should be the one that is intaking that, because it's changing so frequently. You need one person, to be your designee, that they're actually the one, intaking all the information and then updating everything as you go forward. So it's really important that you have policies and procedures for your employees, meaning how are you handling it? Is there checkpoints? Are you taking temperatures, masks, hand sanitizing, hand washing? What are you expecting of your employees? Monitoring their health. You need to have all of those written out so that it's very delineated, so the employee knows what the policies and procedures are. Because there's so many things being published and out that people can read. How are you as your business handling it? So if you have these policies written down, you're able to train everybody on them, but you're also, the employee is able to follow them. It's important because different, you know, restaurants, lodging, events, they're following things while somewhat similar, a little bit different. So you need to make sure they're written down. And then what are your customer policies and procedures? You know, that's really important. You know, do they have to wear a mask when they are inside? You know, how are you handling things? How are you handling lines if they're waiting in a line? Are you, you know, is it 6 feet apart, or, you know, are you having, you know, different, you know, delineation areas? I know where I live right now, a lot of restaurants, it's outdoor. So they're turning actually public streets into areas for dining. Well, how's that working? What are the policies and procedures? It's very important that you're deciding this in advance and you're not kind of going on the fly with it.
Absolutely. Even things like markings on the floor, having arrows to point, flow of traffic so that your customers can all flow in one direction, to minimize the contact between customers and employees to be able to ensure a safe return. These are all helpful ways that small businesses can be able to implement these CDC guidelines to make sure that we can come back in a safe manner.
So the big thing is training. You know, how are you? So you have your operational plan, you have your manual, you put your policies and procedures in place. Now you need to train your employees on it. You cannot feel like it's intuitive enough that they know what to do. How you are handling it is how you have to train them. And with how things are going right now, you have to monitor this on the daily. This has to be something, and again, going back to your designated person, they should be monitoring things, because you may have to tweak things, you know, week to week, day to day, just in order to make sure that, you know, new regulations are coming out, or new findings are coming out, so that you're constantly updating and going, you know, where it should be. I use, and we'll show some photos later in the presentation, but I do feel right now with the whole mask scenario that Target is actually doing one of the best jobs with this. And I think it's something that we all can use in our businesses. They have an individual that is sanitizing all the carts when you walk in, and they are making like small talk with the employees, or with the customers coming in. They're greeting them, but in doing so, it's making the mask interaction a little less daunting. So they're handling it in a really nice customer friendly way, but also enforcing the fact that they want you to wear a mask within their building.
Absolutely. There's also some other countries that are implementing new certifications or different opportunities that your employees can go get certified to be COVID sanitation ready. So they're implementing these new rules. They're having these new certifications so that they're trying to be able to make sure that people are as informed as possible to be able to keep everyone safe. And again, it's just the idea of coming back to a new normal in the most safe way possible.
In this area too, something that I want to, and I, you know, we're going to get to this as well, but making sure too with your training that you are having vendors that you're getting supplies and things from, that you're able to, you know, say, I don't know, say you're training everybody on one kind of wipe and that wipe's no longer available and you're moving to a different wipe. You just need to make sure if that's the case, then you're retraining everybody on what's happening, and you're keeping up to date with your vendors and understanding kind of their supply chain on all of this. So recording everything right now is one of the most important things, because things are changing and you're trying to do things as quickly as possible. Keeping up with the changing needs are really important, that you're recording everything. Hence, you know, in June, the beginning of June, Pennsylvania went from yellow to green. Well, what were the steps that you took in that kind of migration from yellow to green? You need to be jotting that down. On June 1st, you know, we met. This is how we're updating our training. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. That is your record. You're on record that if someone comes to you and says, you know, you're not following guidelines, you have everything, you know, you have your person who is looking through everything. You're updating your training, you're doing everything, but keeping record of everything is your proof that you are doing the best possible thing that you can do to follow everything. So you want to make sure that you're recording things. You want to make sure that you're keeping all invoices. You know, how are you doing things? You should be documenting with photos so that you have things. The other thing with the photos too, if you're doing, you know, you're doing that and, you know, you have the barriers and you have the plexiglass and all those things, and your employees need to reset at the end of night, they know how everything needs to go after everything has been sanitized and cleaned because you're recording everything. So it's super important that you're recording everything and keeping record and like an ongoing record and chronological order of things that you're doing. So, and in the last slide too, we also talked about the contact, sorry, we skipped over the contact tracing. That is something too that you know, with all these records, like how are you handling that? How's it going? There are certifications. So Temple Hospital is actually doing a contact tracing certification that you can actually get right now so that you are up to date on the most up-to-date practices of if someone does come into contact, how do you handle that tracing? And again, that should be part of your manual. So overall, you know, I know this can be so unbelievably inundating. It really can. But if you are doing due diligence and following all these practices, you are doing the best possible thing you can for your business. You know, you are going to be in better shape if something happens. If something happens and there's a safety issue or someone comes into contact, you've done your due diligence. You have your plan, you have your manual, you have your policies and procedures, your training, you're updating things, you're recording everything. You are doing the best, you know, you're handling things the best way you possibly can. No one is going to be perfect in this. That is just, we're humans, we're not going to be. But if you're doing your due diligence and trying to put in every last factor you can, you should feel very good that you're actually following safety procedures and you are providing the best possible experience for your employees and your customers.
Absolutely. I just wanted to echo what Chris was saying, and we're in the hospitality industry. We are a high touch environment where we want to deliver this good and great customer service, but now we're in the situation where we're not able to do so. So being able to balance the operations of your business as well as being able to provide a safe environment for everyone to come back to is your due diligence as a business owner to be able to combat all of this and be able to find a way to return to a new normal.
All right, exactly. So I think my colleagues have went through a nice walkthrough of the current policy procedures, sort of set the overall expectations for a business to follow. So afterwards, let's look at how operators and customers react to those new safety and health measures. Well, we're implementing these new necessary steps, and occasionally it could become hassles, and we start concerned about how customers feel about that, because essentially we're still operating as a experiential business, but care about our customers' response and how, as a business owner, we feel about that. So here are just some statistics that recently have released from research firms, and we want to show you some real data to give you sort of confidence of whether we're on the right track and how important it's gonna be. So according to this chart, and we can see that more than 90% of the operators feel like these updated food safety procedures amidst COVID are very effective, and actually they will continue to use after COVID-19. So this is from an operator standpoint, this is what our peers feel like. And on the other hand, then we look at how customers respond. So it's gonna be the next slide. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lee. So let's look at how customers feel about these new safety measures. And we all have seen when we go out at this moment, we have to wear a mask and we have to follow the procedures. And so this study asked about how customers respond to these new safety measures. Are they willing to make sacrifices to ensure safety? So we can see overarching more the majority of customers indicate that they're willing to make sacrifices. So for example, if we look at the specific questions we ask about, specifically in this context is restaurants. So customers indicate that see precautions at restaurants makes me feel they take my safety seriously. So as a matter of fact, seeing these safety measures and following them themselves actually feel safer to dine in your environment or interacting with your employees. And then I'll do whatever is necessary because it's important to support our restaurants in my community. So this is also another positive side that our customers are very caring. They realize the importance that they are going to follow your practices and measures to make sure your people are supported as well. And again, another question asked, oh, I don't mind new precautions. I'll make some sacrifices to eat in restaurants again. So overall, this data shows that we have a strong confidence and we have strong support from our customers while implementing those new safety measures. Right. So I think the next step, my colleagues and I will be discussing different sources of the risk and how should we do to minimize contamination or virus contraction. So categorically, we believe there are major sources where people may get the virus or may risk contaminating, again, basically from employees, your back end house, within your staff, and when you interact with your customers and how to ensure they're safe is taken care of. And also when you offer off-premise services such as delivery, drive-through, or when you interact with your food delivery trucks, those truck drivers, and then how do you ensure safety? Make sure your people are protected as well. So me and my colleagues will delve into each of these categories and then elaborate further.
Lou, can I just hop in 1 second on there?
Absolutely.
So the other area too with the sources of risk is large gathering. So when it comes to, you know, restaurant, there's a lot of touch points. When it comes to events, you're talking large number of people in an area. So there's many sources. So when you're considering your sources, consider exactly what's going on. You know, with events, the CDC has many guidelines of, you know, what is the risk, and you know, it can start with an intimate wedding ceremony, which is just 3 people where the risk is low, to a concert or an outdoor sporting event where the risk is high. So the risk lies on many factors depending on the actual event.
Thank you, Professor Cleaver. So I think on this slide, the first topic we're gonna go off is the majority on the employee side. So if I could start with some general principles, that'd be great. As my colleagues indicated earlier, you know, we have to follow the CDC guidelines and professional associations at the FDA and also state and the local health officials. They are extremely important sources to make sure we're on the right track. We're constantly monitoring our practices and make changes. So in this slide, it's just a great source released from FDA, and also has been cited by various, you know, professional associations about a general key principle for safety measures, especially for food establishment when you're busy serving food and having interactions with your customer. And there are some general key principles you'd better off following. So briefly, there are different areas such as, first of all, be healthy and be clean. So mostly we're talking about when we staffing, when our employees are coming back, make sure if they don't feel well, they feel sick, make sure they can go home immediately and they have enough taken care of. And also before they come back to work, pre-screen them, make sure they are well, they are ready to come back to work, and also wash hand hygiene and wash your hands, provide sanitizers and provide soaps, and make sure these are documented. Again, documented post signs, make sure people are following these procedures, and don't let people to touch the food with bare hand. And so these type of practice, just to make sure overall we're ensuring our facilities and those procedures are gonna make sure people feel safe and going back to work again. And next one is clean and disinfect. So going back to employee training and also at the same time, while interacting with our customers, same thing. We have to make sure our people are trained to disinfect all these high touch areas and frequently like touch their customers or people. And these products should be available as well. So make sure that we constantly stock them and make sure people are trained how to use them correctly. And at the same time, make sure we provide this product to customers as well. Whenever customers ask for cleaning wipes or sanitizers, we have them ready to show that we're committed, so whenever they need. So next is probably one of the big things that we haven't, so far we have been talking about all the time, social distancing. So generally, FDA suggests, of course, starting from signs. So that's one of the most easily procedures to follow, and also is considered very effective because it's easily seen and people are just unconsciously will follow. And it's also a good way to show that our business are taking this very seriously. So make sure these signs are everywhere, especially those high visible areas. And the next one is 6 feet apart. Again, whenever we have gathering tables and all these areas that are potentially subject to group gathering, make sure they're 6 feet apart. So as this. And another thing is about minimizing the time spent within your property, such as in grocery stores. Of course, you encourage customers to have a shopping list, right? And for restaurant, we encourage people to go through the menu in advance and know whatever they're going to order, or use mobile devices so they can minimize the time spent on property, so especially indoor. So these practices are recommended. So last one touches on the pickup and delivery. Of course, this has become one of now the new normal, one of the main service we provide. Also make sure during this pickup delivery, we have designated zones for people to drop, and also make sure we have enough technology support. People will receive text alert before arrive, again, just to minimize human contact.
I wanted to chime in really quickly on the clean and disinfect topic. I feel like in a lot of hospitality and tourism businesses, we try to be modest about how we're cleaning things, and we don't clean off the menus in front of the guests. Or when I used to be working, we used to clean our hotel keys in the back of the room. We don't do it and show in front of the guests. But now we're moving to a new normal where we should probably show off that we're doing all these efforts to be able to disinfect. We want to be able to showcase that we're taking the proper measures and the proper steps to be able to ensure everyone's safety.
Lindsay, I'm going to add to that because I think something too that's really important is you using your social media to actually show people that you're doing that. I keep using the example, and I actually have some in my office right now, of 6 feet is a pool noodle. So if you get a pool noodle, and you get these at the dollar store, and you're actually using this, you can mark it off with the 6 feet so people can see that you are really being diligent and you're taking photos of how you're designing your establishment or your event or anything that you're working on, and you're posting that adds a level of trust. People really get, and it may seem like it may seem campy and corny, but people are really looking for that. And the fact that you're taking that extra step is really important for them, and them feeling safe and trustworthy of your establishment.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to back up what my colleague just said, actually, I remember one of the studies, actually, customers indicate that seeing those facts, seeing your employees are doing so, make them feel safe. So definitely that's a really good point to add on, is also a slightly tweak our service norm. And so next one, we're talking about the staffing. So just without repeating what my colleague just said, just in addition to those basic, safety trainings or different trainings that we normally implement, some additional steps that we may take, post-COVID or amidst COVID is when you implement staff training, make sure you increase cross-training. We have already done so. Just at this stage, we have to be prepared. People are not going to show up. People may call in sick more frequently. So make sure we maximize our cross-training staff and also have a roster. Have a roster ready, and especially for those high-skilled workers, we have a designated list of people that you have already been trained, and they can take the job whenever they're called in. And also perform daily checks, perform daily health checks in accordance with, any privacy laws and regulations. And yeah, bottom line is following the CDC general business FAQs, and they provide a really good guide and a very detailed instructions how to do this procedure.
I'm going to hop in as well on this one, just because something to, besides actual physical wellness that I think we really have to be cognizant of is also employee mental health with everything that's going on. This is a very trying time for everyone. It's a trying time. People are now being trained on things they never thought they would be, and people can feel a little overwhelmed. So it's always good to do a little check-in with your employees. Are you okay? Are you having, any issues? Is there anything you need to talk about? And having resources for them, because it could be one day they're feeling okay, and then they're traveling on, public transportation to you, and they're seeing a practice that's making them uncomfortable, and they're now coming into you very unsettled. So just, what are other ways that you can really assist your employees through the wellness end of all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So another point that we want to touch upon is employee personal hygiene. So in addition to a list of safety measures, a few important hygiene procedures we want to sort of point it out. First of all, pre-screening. So make sure we're constantly monitoring our employees' health and have a procedure, have a record to make sure people are checked often, they are healthy enough to serve, and is also a responsible step for our people and our customer as well. And also for vulnerable employees. If your property have vulnerable employees, elderly folks, or people have preconditions, we may want to switch them to other duties that may not have much personal interaction. So make sure we are fully aware of their needs. They want to come back. It's very important for them that we welcome back to their work, but also we need to protect these vulnerable employees. And also taking employee temperature is optional. So depending on your business needs, yes, it's definitely good procedure to go, but it's not required. And also, of course, while wearing masks, now is definitely a norm to make sure they're wearing masks all the time, and hand hygiene, hand washing for protocols is also very important. So again, staying home when they're sick. So just to be ready that our employees call in sick and more frequently than before, and show support. So at this stage, I think it's very important for them not only to receive physical and financial support, but also emotional support from us.
Absolutely. I just wanted to kind of chime in here again about the masks. There's a new movement where people are having more fun masks, whether it's like a smiley face or a mustache that they have on their mask, or even branding your mask to be very specific to your business. These are all different ways to be able to use something that's seen as inconvenient to benefit your business.
So next one would be a different source that we also need to make sure we're being careful is handling pickup and delivery. And also when we have suppliers and a truck driver coming in, the interactions, are we taking enough safety and health measures enough? So with this category of sources, we just generally suggest, yes, we have pickup zones, especially designated for to maintain social distancing, and we encourage no-touch deliveries. Make sure you have apps, text alert, and minimize human contact. And also when you deliver food, are we sanitizing enough? Are we wrap and package our stuff already? Make sure there's no direct contact to minimize cross-contamination. And the coolers or other containers, are we disinfect every time we use it? So it may seem a lot of hassles, but it's really important that we're being very careful of handling those different places that may come across to be contaminated by the virus. So at the same time, same procedure as indoor, we need to provide sanitizer. We need to make sure our people are wearing masks, especially when we interact with truck drivers, and they may run through tons of different stores and then come back to us. We make sure our employees are safe. So I've seen some places, they now slightly change the norm. They just let their truck driver unload everything and then get everything ready, and then their people take away. This they stop to be stopped. So there is a minimum interaction, we're carrying stuff all over. So these just areas we just need to be mindful. We should implement safety measures as well. So are we good with employees? So next one, my colleagues and I will be talking about on the customer side. So basically, when customers come on your property, what are some things we can do to make sure they feel their health and safety have been taken care of? So we want to start from the beginning, setting expectations. I think my colleagues, Professor Lee and Cleaver, already alluded to the importance to posting signs. So here it's very important to set up expectations. We expect our customers to keep social distance, to follow the rules, to wear a mask from the beginning. So for these type of signs, very important you post at the entrance. Make sure people know what are expected. So in case there are like customers that don't want to follow rules, at least they know what to expect to minimize conflict. All right. So this one, as we can see, this is a dining, basically interior with a dining context. Of course, my colleagues later on will chime in other hospitality sectors, in other service settings, what are some places we want to implement controls. So here, just taking restaurant as an example. So I'm pretty sure we're all, based on our own experience at this stage, sometimes we may try to dine out. And for properties, if you have a outdoor space, yeah, that will be a good advantage, because now we have seen a lot of people prefer outdoor dining. So make sure you take advantage of your outdoor space. Sometimes we convert our parking lot into a dining area. So these are some really good places that we can minimize the risk involved with the indoor environment. And also with capacity control, I think we might all read the new order from the government. Now the capacity is rolling back to 25%. So as my colleagues have indicated earlier, yes, always make sure we're following the guidelines and rules, make sure we control the capacity. Our customers are 6 feet apart. So pulling table away, make sure we have marks on the table and we have signs all over, just to ensure our customers clearly understand we are following these procedures, make sure they are within their own group. And they can just get up and walk around all the time. We prefer them to sit down. And so these practices, they're considered the rules that are expected to follow.
With that, if you are going to do the outdoor space, make sure that you are, from a legal perspective, checking in with your municipality to see if there are additional permits that are required. Some are waiving permit fees, not all are. So, and it's going to be different in every area. So just make sure with capacity, when it comes to outdoor space, that you're working with your municipality to make sure you're following proper procedure.
Absolutely. And also just chiming a very detail about the controlled capacity, and also about the rules about serving alcohol. Of course, now we can't serve alcohol unless it is accompanied by meal. So it's not, it can be, from what I read, I think from the recent order, the details, it can be just a package of the food. It has to be meal, it has to be prepared on site. So with all those little details, let's make sure following, whatever is expected. So it's very important. We constantly keep checking those policies and new updates.
And with that, because that is, so that's the new procedure that came down, that is affecting, wineries, it's affecting breweries. So make sure that in your municipality or your governing body, who the people are that you can speak to about these things and get full clarification, because some of it can be a little bumpy and a little confusing. So just make sure that you're finding an organization that helps you spell out all of those things in detail.
So the next one, I think another solution to go is a physical partition. We have seen this a lot in stores, retails, and yes, depending on the business preferences, yes, we have seen some places they use glass and transparent physical partition to make sure customers are separated. And also from the cashier, make sure your employees and customers are also having a physical partition. And of course, we're also seeing kiosk and touchless payment. And also, I believe some companies are producing those antimicrobial kiosks to make sure it's clean and it's sanitized and safe for customers to use. So all these solutions are could be day to go method if you believe that's going to be important for your property to implement and customers feel comfortable with that.
I just wanted to touch upon this a little bit. If you can't do, we're a hospitality and tourism business, so we like that high contact, but if you're not able to do touchless, then maybe you can touch less. So I've seen a lot of these pre-arrival messagings, whether you're a lodging business or a food and beverage business. I've received a couple emails, even when I make reservations, just to remind you of the rules that they're using, or we're only using this entrance, please don't use this one. We're trying to facilitate flow of traffic. Please remember to wear your mask. Servers will not be attending to you as often and frequent to be able to reduce that contact. So just being able to provide these pre-arrival messagings for your guests will be able to help get them on the same page and help with a little bit of the compliance and them understanding these new rules and regulations that you'll be implementing. Multi-channel messaging is also really important. So being able to use all your social media outlets in addition to email to be able to reach out to the guests just to make them informed of the new policies and procedures that you'll be implementing will help be able to make it a smooth transition and prepare your guests to be able to be ready to enjoy the customer experience in our new normal. And also being able to publicize your enhanced cleaning standards, the different sanitizing materials that you'll be using that are in compliance with the CDC guidelines, how you'll be using social distancing, as well as reducing the capacity and contact points for between employees and the guests. These are all really effective ways to be able to communicate to your guests and again be able to build a trust that you are doing your due diligence and trying your best to be able to ensure the safety of both the guests and the employees during these times.
So I wanted to take you through this, what I think is a pretty cool and very innovative and very cost effective, which is, I know for a lot of small businesses, a contactless ordering. So there is a business in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania that is a tea and shake business. And they, really had to pivot and try to figure out, how to do this. And I've seen this multiple times with them, and I feel like it's very creative. So they're using their Instagram. So every morning they'll post the shake of the day or whatever, but their Instagram actually has a button which has their menu, and it takes you through this step-by-step process. So you look at the menu, and then you actually send them a direct message on Instagram with your order. And they have it set up so that whoever is in the shop at the time gets the alert. So they have an iPad, but then it's also on everybody's phones, and you know what it is. And what's really cool about this too is they actually are, when they do their confirmation and stuff, that it's very customer service, very hospitality friendly. So you place your order, you tell them who you are, what you want, what time you're going to be there, and what kind of vehicle you have. They will email you back saying it's confirmed. They, may ask you an additional question about the order, and then they will actually give you the total. And then they basically, you can do one or two things. You can either Venmo them the money, which is pretty neat, and then it's completely contactless. Or when you get there, they will actually have someone with an iPad that does it vehicle side. If you do the Venmo method, they actually have what they're calling the shake table, which is a table, and you're actually, when they see you pull up and they know, I have a green Jeep. When they see a green Jeep, they will actually give you the thumbs up, and they will actually bring the shakes outside onto the table, and you can actually come up and pay, or if you paid via Venmo, just take the shakes back to your vehicle. It's very customer service friendly. It's very hospitable. They're very nice. They give you a thumbs up, and they also give you a shake, a shake to the shake. So it's a really nice way to do contactless, but also have a very personal touch to it. So there's a lot of ways that people could use to adapt this. It would just, it's going to be, some bumps in the road, but it's definitely a very cost-effective way, because this is actually using social media and Venmo, which is really not going to cost you a ton.
I think I just want to quickly chime in. My colleague just brought a really good point. At this stage, we're trying to minimize human interactions, which means as an industry, we're known to have high human touch. Now we can do it. So definitely this is a great example that how we can enable human touch with this touchless contact. So definitely a good stream of practices we can further explore. Right. So next one, we're going to discuss about 4 areas that are known to have high frequent human touch, high touch area. For example, when you dine out in a restaurant table, and there are some practices are expected. For example, are we ready to provide those single packs of wipes and sanitizers for our customers? And are we wiping off everything that's between each customer group? So it's very important at this stage. I think personally to me, when I dine out recently, I literally would watch their employees whether they're doing that or not. So far, fortunately, the business I've seen, they're really doing their best. They have people coming in, wipe out everything, every area in front of the customers. These whole table, chair, everything previous customer have touched are sanitized carefully. So those are very important. And for example, the menu on the table, are we using the old menu? If you feel like your menu is so important, there are a lot of thoughtful design. Yes, probably we just need to make sure we sanitize all the time, because these are high touch items in your restaurant will be circulated around. Otherwise, you can just do mobile ordering, right? Mobile menu or single-use menu, make it printed in a more cost-effective approach, so you can toss away after every customer use that. So just being extra mindful about those areas that we cannot avoid human touch. We just need to make sure our customers are actually seeing that we're doing our due diligence to make sure they're safe.
So piggybacking off the idea of single-use items, so the hotel industry has kind of moved away from these the amenities that you get inside your room. They're trying to use the larger shampoo and soap bottles that are inside the showers to be eco-friendly. But what we might see moving forward is the return of these single-use items to again be able to minimize the spread and contacts, and being able to promote this idea of a single-use item. This whole idea of being able to balance a clinical with a personal touch within the hospitality industry is going to be the line that we have to be able to navigate moving into the future. But these single-use items might be coming back. Secondly, it's the idea of being able to disinfect high-touch areas like elevators, doors. I've seen some hotels move away from a manual door, and they'll have a doorkeeper, or they'll move to automatic, so minimize the contact between a doorknob and all the guests as well as the employees. This photo here shows how elevators are marking out where you should stand inside the elevator. I don't think all elevators are 6 feet in distance, but it's just the idea of being able to maximize the distance between guests and be able to minimize the spread of COVID. And then lastly, it's the idea of a lot of the hotels are well, I don't want to say a lot, but it's the idea of, are guests going to be able, are they going to be wanting to have housekeeping services every day? I've seen some of the hotel brands be able to advertise that they'll have a seal on your door, so it ensures that once your room is clean, it's been sealed. If the seal is broken, you know someone has gone into the room and it should probably be sanitized again. But again, it's just this idea of being able to ensure the safety of employees and guests, be able to build trust between your business as well as the guests, and be able to promote as much of the efforts that you're doing to be able to be safe. So it's just this idea of being clinical as well as still maintaining a hospitality touch within our industry.
Yeah, of course. So next one is about posting signs. I think we have indicated earlier how important it is to make sure those signs and the messages are very clear, and we also post them into highly visible locations. For example, we have present a few cases, I think one from Disney in their bathroom and the other one in some business within their indoor area near their cashiers and on the table, and whatever place you believe is very easy for your customers to pay attention to, have those signs. So it's definitely a very effective approach to make sure your customer are going to imply. And just going back to our suggestion of single-use items, and we can have wondering, yes, we're doing this, and how our customer is going to respond, right? We always care about customer experience. So here we just want to provide some statistics from some recent research, and actually data shows more customers are going to prefer those individual packets. Of course, these studies are conducted within a dining context. So looking into the detail, we have seen about 57% of customers prefer single-use packets upon request, and even higher if your customers are within the boomer generation. So they are taking precautions, and they are also expecting business to be ready for these practices. And yes, if you feel like you really can use single packs, it's gonna hurt your customer experience, then we're gonna disinfect, sanitize, make sure we're doing everything we can to make sure our customers are safe.
So this is, I referenced these signs earlier in the presentation, but this is how Target is doing things. And at first, when I went to Target, I was like, wow, that's on a shopping cart, but that's the whole premise. So they're leading you kind of through this, you know, you see the sign when you go in, then you're seeing further signs, they're telling you where to stand. It's really becoming the norm. People are looking for these, and they're looking for, you know, where they should go, where they should stand. You know, people are really, those indicators are what are helping people be able to navigate kind of the uncharted waters. Because I know, and I drive everybody in my family crazy. I'm like, oh, let's buy this. That'll fit in the living room. And everybody knows it's not going to, because I'm not very good with spatial awareness. And I think a lot of people aren't. So the signs they're really assisting people in understanding where they should and should not be. So, you know, and I know people are like, oh, too many signs, it's going to overtake the business. Find the way the signs work for your establishment best, but make sure they're there.
And another point I just want to briefly chime in is we're concerned about those convenience. You know, we're putting a lot of signs within our establishment, if that's considered aesthetically appealing, or how customers will respond. Based on what I recall from another study, just to basically get a feel of how customers respond to small business, if they're going to go back, they actually indicated top priority for them is to feel safe. You are implementing this health and safety measures. As we often believe our customers are willing to support our local community. We have a personal relationship with them, especially for small business. But in this new era, customers do believe their health and safety is the top priority. And by doing so, by supporting their emerging needs, I think for business, it just sort of become a new business normal. All right, so at this stage, we just want to provide some good resources. And so this is provided by the governor's website for business owners to source PPE, providing manufacturers and suppliers in Pennsylvania. So we just encourage our small business owners to often check out this website, these official resources. They have done a lot of work. They provide different guides and science posts, and also resources are available. So we just want to further emphasize right here, these are the places to go. And also at the end of the webinar, and we will, when we publish our white paper, we will also provide some links direct you to those resources. Alrighty, I think this is our last slide. So sort of wrapping it up, I think we started with following guidelines, recommendations, guidance, same thing here. We do believe it's very important that we follow the CDC guidelines and state local health officials. Make sure we constantly evolve our practices and in touch with these official areas, and make sure we are implementing all the best practices we can to make sure our guests feel safe when they return and our employees feel safe. So these are just a list of a suggested resource that we believe that they are providing good practices, that they keep updated, they keep updating their resource and based on the current environment. So definitely some good resources for your business to check out. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I made a note in the chat that people can post some questions, but I'm not seeing any. I'll give maybe another 30 seconds or so to see if anybody wants to ask a question to our panelists, but we will be sending a follow-up with notes, really good takeaways from the section. In the meantime, I am going to post a 4-question survey that we are required to have all attendees fill out. So that's in the chat box right now. We'd appreciate if you took a minute to fill that out, and we'll include that in that follow-up email as well. Let's see. No, I don't think I'm seeing any questions for today. But thank you so much to all of you for your insight here. It's such an important topic, so timely. Really, really appreciate it. But I think that we will probably wrap up for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.